What if the thing blocking your next level in life isn't discipline, productivity, or motivation? What if the real reason that you feel stuck is because you're still punishing a version of yourself that no longer exists? Today, I want to introduce something to you called the Pattern Interrupt Challenge, because the woman that you're becoming cannot fully arrive while you're still carrying shame about how you survived yesterday. Your future self is not waiting for you to be perfect. She's waiting for you to forgive the past so that she can finally arrive into the present moment. Hi, my name is Megan Monique, and I help women activate their future selves through psychology, spiritual awareness, and practical identity shifts. Today, we're going to talk about why forgiving your past might be the most powerful transformation tool that you've ever used. Let's start with something that most people never talk about. Many of the decisions that you regret today were actually survival decisions at the time, not potential decisions, survival decisions. When you're under emotional stress, trauma, financial instability, relationship instability, or uncertainty about the future, your brain activates something called the survival system. This is your nervous system prioritizing safety over long-term growth. Your brain shifts into modes like fight, flight, freeze, fawn. These responses are not flaws in you. They're biological protection systems. But here's where the problem begins. Later in life, when your circumstances change, your brain starts looking back at your survival choices and saying things like, why did I stay in that relationship? Why did I make that financial decision? Why didn't I stand up for myself? And what begins to grow inside of the mind is something called the shame response. Shame is different from guilt. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am the mistake. And when shame becomes attached to your history, you start treating your past self like she's the enemy instead of recognizing her for what she actually was: resourceful, adaptive, and surviving. So let me interrupt that pattern for you. The version of you who made those choices was not operating with the knowledge, resources, safety, or support system that you have today. She was doing the best that she could with the nervous system that she had at the time. And instead of honoring her survival, many of us spend years punishing her for it. This is where I want to get into the paradox of the situation. The thing preventing you from your identity shift is not your past. It's your refusal to integrate your past into your present moment. Psychologists refer to something called psychological continuity. This is the sense that past, present, and future versions of you are all connected. And when that connection is healthy, something powerful happens. Your brain starts to see your life as a coherent story. And coherent stories create confidence, direction, emotional stability. But when we reject parts of our past, when we reject parts of ourselves, we break that continuity. We begin to mentally separate ourselves from earlier versions of who we were. And we say things like, I hate who I used to be. I wish that part of my life never happened. But here's what that does psychologically. When you reject your past self, you create identity fragmentation. Instead of one integrated identity, you have now disconnected versions of yourself. And that fragmentation weakens your decision-making power in the present moment because the brain is constantly trying to resolve an internal conflict. Part of you is moving forward, part of you is still litigating the past. Here's an important question. How can your future self fully arrive if your present self is still at war with your past? You can't step into a new identity while dragging unresolved baggage behind you. Your future self is not asking you to erase the past. She's asking you to integrate it. So I want to talk for a moment about identity shifts. The woman that you want to become in 2026, she does not emerge from nowhere. She's built from your experience. She's built from your lessons and your mistakes. And this is where many people get stuck in something called the identity gap. The identity gap is the space between who you are right now and who it is that you are becoming. But most people think that that gap is created by a lack of discipline. Often it's created by unresolved shame because the shame creates an invisible ceiling. It says things to you like, I don't deserve success yet. I need to fix my past before I can move forward. I need to prove that I'm different now. But the truth is, the future version of you that you're trying to become requires the wisdom from your past mistakes. Let me say that again. The future version of you that you are trying to become, she requires the wisdom from your past mistakes. Your past did not disqualify you. It trained you. One of the most powerful things that you can do in identity work is something called reparenting your past self. So instead of judging her, you begin guiding her. You look back at moments where you struggled and you say things like, I see why you did that. You were scared. You didn't have the support that you needed. You were trying to survive. And instead of shame, you replace it with compassion and leadership. This is how shame becomes a foundational strength. So I want to bring this back around to right now because forgiveness is not just emotional, it's also physical. I want you to think what happens when someone carries unresolved shame. Their posture changes. Their voice will get quieter. They hesitate before speaking. They question their choices. They shrink their presence in rooms. But something remarkable happens when that shame is released. Your shoulders relax. Your breath deepens, your eye contact strengthens. You speak with clarity instead of an apology because resilience does not mean that you never failed. Resilience means that you stopped using failure as a reason to delay your evolution. The resilient woman is not someone who avoids mistakes. She is someone who said, that chapter happened. I learned from it, and now I'm moving forward. Your future self is not waiting for you to prove your worth. She already sees your worth. What she's waiting for is for you to stop punishing yourself long enough to step into it. So I want you to leave with a simple integration ritual that you can do to take some time to think about one decision from your past that you still feel regret about. It might be a relationship, it might be a financial decision, it could be a moment where you didn't stand up for yourself. Now I want you to imagine your future self standing beside you, the version of you who is wiser, she is stronger, she is clearer. And I want you to ask her this question. What did she learn from that experience that you can now carry? And listen to what she has to say, because the answer might be things like, I learned discernment, I learned boundaries, I learned courage, I learned self-trust. Those lessons are the inheritance that your future self carries. And then say something simple to your past self. Thank you for surviving. I'll take it from here. That moment of acknowledgement restores your psychological continuity. And when your timeline reconnects, you reclaim the energy that was trapped in regret. So your future self is not just a destination somewhere in the distance. She is present now. She is waiting right now for you to clear the path between who you were and who you are becoming. And that path begins with one decision: forgive the past, because the woman you're meant to become is already on her way. If this message resonates with you, I would love to hear from you in the comments. What did this bring up for you? What are you currently struggling with? And what did this inspire you to take action within your life? If you want to go deeper into this work, you can always join me for my free future self activation adventure using the link in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching. It has been a pleasure chatting with you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.